I'm your goddess Nazca, here with Truckerman. We're reacting to your video, loco!
Biggest logistics flex of all time. Berlin Airlift.
Huh.
Yes, that time that communists tried to starve an entire city, so America and the UK teamed up to deliver 4.6 billion pounds of food and supplies to that city using nothing but cargo planes.
Huh.
What?
Today we're talking
Greg,
about the biggest
that was
economic...
cute! Oh my goodness! It was the ducky did a poot explosion!
Food explosion?
He ate an explosion with his butt! And it was a ducky.
It was a duck grenade.
It pooted!
That's what they're going to have at TDC this year.
No! Oh, that would suck.
logistical flex of all time, America's
Communism.
Operation Vittles and the UK's Operation
I get it!
coming together to be known as the Berlin Airlift. But first, a word from our sponsor. This video is brought to you by Henson's
Sponsor.
Shaving. Okay, here's the deal. Henson's is a family machine shop that makes parts for video. Alright, important background info. After World War II, the Allied forces took control of Germany, and it was split into pretty much 4 different chunks. The Soviets got a piece, America got a piece, the French and the British both got a piece. Here's a map of that right here.
Huh.
Yeah, you got West Berlin and East, West.
Oh yeah, the whole Berlin Wall thing, right?
Yeah. Some people say that you think of Spike's family is believe this is kind of the inspiration for that.
Oh.
Or this is where Lloyd, Yor, and Anya are, and this is the other side. I forget the name of the countries off the top of my
That
head.
they made up, or...
Yeah.
Okay, here's where it gets a little weird. Berlin was also split into 4 equal chunks. The problem with that was Berlin was 100 miles into the Soviet territory, so you have this little tiny speck on the map of British, French, and American territory completely surrounded by the USSR. While that is weird, it wasn't really a problem because right after World War II, everybody was still an ally, so America, the British, and the French had no problems using the roadways and the trains to get food and supplies to their section of Berlin. Now, just so we're on the same page, Berlin, and essentially all of Germany to a slightly lesser extent, is essentially a third world country at this point in time. Berlin and...
Huh.
Yeah, because we...
Because, because we... it was,
I considered ever to blow the shit out of them.
because Hitler, right?
Yeah.
particular has essentially been turned into rubble from Allied bombings. The entire German economy is in the toilet, and all of the German people are not getting a lot of sympathy from the global community because...
I'm sorry, I have to make a thing here. I like his t-shirt. You see his t-shirt, right? You get it?
Yeah, I get it. Fuck communism.
Uh-huh.
Well,
cute.
they kind of started it. Now, with the Allied forces in control of Germany, it is their job and their responsibility to help take care of the German people. Now, the Western powers, America, Great Britain, and France, they're all on the same page. They all have the same game plan. They want to go in, render aid in the short term to the German people, then in the long term help prop up their economy, get them back on their own feet, and then they can leave. The USSR, on the other hand, aka the communists, absolutely hate that idea. The last thing a bunch of communists want is people being able to take care of themselves, so they step in and they're like, no, absolutely not. We're going to build a communist utopia out of this place. So, in order to stop the Western powers from helping Germany, they decide that they're going to print billions and billions of Reichsmarks, the German currency.
Oh,
they devalue the currency.
Oh, that's why, I remember, I can't remember if this was like a school thing or whatever, but I remember hearing, like, they printed so much money, it became so worthless, it was better off just being used as insulation.
They literally threw it in fires because it was cheaper to throw thousands of their money in a fire than actually buying firewood. People would take wheelbarrows to go get bread.
And this is, we had someone who was this dumb who said, why don't they just print more money? That would not fix,
I think it was a streamer. I think I know who you're talking about.
Really? I thought it was our old friend who's not our friend anymore.
No.
Really?
Money Wars.
Money Wars.
Well, the thing is, Zimbabwe, they printed the $1 trillion note that's worth like less than a penny.
Damn.
So there's so much money that it's no longer a store of value, to the point that it literally takes a wheelbarrow full of money to buy a loaf of bread. Because of this, the already struggling German economy completely collapses and a black market sets in, and the new currency for Germany is essentially cigarettes and food. And this goes on for like 2 years with the West trying to negotiate.
So basically prison currency.
Yep.
Toilet paper did... Oh, don't forget about how they use the money for toilet paper. Hey, that's a good way to pretend that you're rich. You get
I want to find me one of those Zimbabwe notes that are like $1 trillion. That's what I say. I'm a trillionaire.
with the USSR on how to proceed. And during that time, the people of Berlin are quite literally starving and freezing to death, with the average Berliner eating less than 1,000 calories a day. Eventually, the West steps in and they're like, fuck it, we're just going to do it without the communists because we have to help these people. So they create a new type of currency for Germany known as the Deutschmark, and it's going to be seen as a real store of value and help rebuild the German economy. The Soviets find out about this and they freak out, basically break all diplomatic communication with the Western powers, and they officially want to break up and just have East versus West, capitalism versus communism, Hungary versus Fed. This is where the Cold War really starts kicking off. And the first ideological battleground of the Cold War is going to be Berlin, because remember, it's 100 miles into Soviet territory and a big chunk of it is still controlled by the...
Okay. So what's the deal with the Cold War?
It was basically, there was not an official war, but it was a war between us, the West, versus Russia.
Okay, so I'm guessing it still affected other areas too.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And I'm guessing the whole Berlin Wall breakdown stuff happened around the Cold
Interesting fact.
Uh-huh.
If Japan had not surrendered, Russia would have invaded the north part of Japan, and we would have had the same issue in Japan we have here now with Germany. Where North Japan would have been communist and Southern Japan would have been capitalist.
Really?
Because we were going to invade the southern part of Japan, and Russia was getting ready to invade the north part of Japan.
Huh.
If Japan had not surrendered, that's what would have happened.
Oh.
the Western powers. So the Soviets decide they need to take over that part of Berlin too. They can't have a little speck of capitalism in their communist utopia. Now, luckily for the communists, it's an easy fix. They really don't have to do anything, because the minute the West Berliners see what a communist utopia really looks like, they're going to willfully and freely denounce capitalism and run over and become communists too, right? Wrong. That's never going to happen, because communism sucks. It's always sucked, and it's always going to suck. So the communists are...
Okay, what is the basic principle of communism?
Everybody's equal, and there's no... Everybody's equal, essentially.
It sounds good on paper, but execution-wise, it can't be done.
Because there's people more equal than others.
Mm-hmm. No matter what you do, there's always going to be someone in a higher position than you. There's no such thing as equality.
going to do what they always do. They are
Well,
going to
they can't make everybody equally happy, but they can make everybody equally miserable.
Point.
basically present West Berlin the option: join or we will attempt to kill you. Because if you don't know, that's the dirty little secret to communism. They always talk about seizing the means of production. What they never bother to tell you is that people are also part of that means of production, and they will seize you too. So that's exactly what they do.
Yeah. So it's basically, in order to make everyone quote-unquote equal, you have to follow them whether you want to or not. So ultimately, isn't communism basically a dictatorship at that point?
Yeah, pretty much.
They attempt to seize West Berlin. They blockade it off from the Western powers. They cut off every road, every railway, and every waterway so that the Western powers cannot get West Berlin food or any other supplies. And then they cut off the power to that section of the city, quite literally freezing and starving them to death until they comply. So obviously this is a diplomatic and humanitarian disaster. All the military leadership runs over to President Truman and they're like, hey, what do you want us to do? Basically, we got three options. Option A, we can start rolling tanks in and kick off World War III right now. Option B, we can just leave the Berlin people there to die. And option C, we can try to fly in as much food and supplies as possible, but
Okay, which option did they take?
I'm gonna go with C, because I don't think the other two happened.
Oh yeah, the World War III's happening now.
Yay.
getting enough to feed an entire city is basically going to be impossible. What do you want to do? Now, obviously, I'm paraphrasing a little, but Truman basically said, we're America, we don't start world wars, we just finish them. Also, and I quote, we stay in Berlin. Period. Which narrows it down to one single option. They are going to fly in enough food and enough supplies to try to feed all of West Berlin. Here's the catch with that. The American leadership has absolutely no idea what that's going to take or how to even proceed. So they go to the British government, who has just spent the last decade rationing.
You know what's why is America just automatically the breadbasket for the whole world?
Because we are the breadbasket. We produce the most food. We have the most logistics. And at the time, we had the most advanced technology.
I'm guessing. Okay, we bombed them, didn't we?
Yeah, everybody bombed them.
How come no one else was trying to clean up the mess then?
Because they had their own mess to clean up. I mean, Britain just was blown up by Germany. France just got liberated from Germany. I mean...
Oh.
So,
And we were the only ones that wasn't having a hard time besides, I guess... What was the only thing that we had an issue with? Pearl Harbor?
the Great Depression.
Oh, we had a Great Depression going on, and we gave...
World War II got us out of the Great Depression.
Oh. Okay, so wait. Timeline-wise, Great Depression happened before World War II?
Yeah, that's what probably led to World War II, because it happened worldwide. We just took the brunt of it.
Huh. So after Great Depression... So I'm assuming... I would like to assume before we sent aid there that our Great Depression was finished, right?
For the most part, I mean, production ramped up massively during World War II, so we had all this manufacturing job. People had, money after World War II.
Germany was too poor to fix anything. Point. I mean, they just had a dictator get overthrown and murdered. I'm guessing this is when he was murdered, right?
I'm gonna go check on something. I'll let you continue to react.
Okay. Make sure you slap a cow.
Okay.
Their own people, and they have a great understanding of what it takes to keep a large population of people fed and warm. So Great Britain crunches the numbers, and they figure to get every single person in West Berlin 1,700 calories a day, it's going to be 1,500 tons of food every single day.
Sheesh.
In addition to that, since the power got cut off, they're going to need 2,500 tons of coal and fuel every single day. Okay, 4,000 tons, just so we're all on the same page, that is 8 million pounds of supplies every single day.
Oh my goodness. That is a lot. Yeesh. Ugh. So, just to help others, they had to do all that too. Yes. Everyone's going in and out of my door. You done?
We're done. We got the cat back in.
You done? You want to stop being a butt?
Can we stop him?
Cat snuck outside if you want to know what's going on, chat.
Just to keep everyone alive. And the best cargo plane they have to work with at this point in time is the C-47 Skytrain, which has a maximum capacity of 3 tons, meaning that they are going to have to land 1,333 cargo planes into Berlin every single day. To put that into perspective,
Sheesh.
there's only 1,440 minutes in a day, meaning that one plane has to land every minute and 8 seconds. This is impossible. Despite that, the newly formed United States Air Force says, hold my nuclear bombs and watch this shit, because on June 26, 1948, 2 days after the Soviet blockade, they launch Operation Vittles, where they are going to try to feed an entire city via cargo plane. 2 days after...
How come, does history books teach this? Did you know about this?
Honestly, I did not.
Oh, poor cat.
Also, you gotta keep in mind for the American standpoint, after World War II, we skipped right into the 50s and 60s. I mean, when they teach history, they brief over it.
No one knows all history ever.
After that, June 28th, the UK says, hey, we're going to help too, and the RAF launches Operation Planefair, and together this becomes known as the Berlin Airlift, and right out of the gate, it is a complete and utter shit show. They're trying to fly in planes from absolutely everywhere. It is disorganized chaos. There's planes crashing. There's mid-air collisions. It's a complete disaster, and on their best day, they're maybe able to get 1,000 tons of supplies, less than a fifth of what they need. Now at this...
Oh, shit. I'm curious if we're gonna end up doing something similar to this now. With,
Well, we also have planes that we can just throw the cargo out and it parachutes down. They didn't have that capability back then.
Oh, so that's why this was such a pain.
Yeah.
And a disaster.
That's probably why now we have, like, cargo drops.
Uh-huh.
Because back then we couldn't do that.
No one invented parachutes?
Not strong enough to land cargo. You couldn't throw that much weight out on a parachute back then.
That's dumb.
Point, the conditions in Berlin are getting worse and worse by the day. The communists are essentially laughing at the stupid capitalist pigs, at which point America calls up one of its main characters, a man by the name of General William Tunner. Alright, this is a guy that coordinated all the logistics of getting supplies into China during World War II when they had to fly over the Himalayas.
Yeah, you're right, we got faster planes now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody can unfuck this situation, it's gonna be him. And that's exactly what he does.
MVP!
So General Tunner comes in and he's like, here's the deal. We're gonna fly these planes like we're conducting an orchestra. There's 3 air channels to Berlin. The 2 on the outside are gonna be planes going to Berlin, and the 1 in the middle is gonna be planes leaving Berlin. For the 2 air channels going into Berlin, we're gonna launch 1 plane every 3 minutes all day, every single day. And those planes are gonna fly at 5 separate altitudes, staggering every single time to give them just enough time to land. The Germans...
You know, this is probably the worst job ever. I wonder if any of them even got thanked.
Where's the other thing? They did all this without computers. They did this on their own.
Oh, yeah, and, how often were these people grateful? Like...
I'm pretty sure the people were starving were grateful they got food. I mean, don't get me wrong.
You don't think, like, I don't know, like, if there was still any animosities at this point?
I
mean...
Actually, from what I heard back in the day when we built the army base in Germany, like, the people back in the day, they were more grateful than people are now.
Point.
On the receiving end of this are like, we're literally starving to death, we got to help out the Americans and the British with this. So they show up and they start unloading the cargo planes for them, and they get so good at unloading these planes that they can unload all 3 tons of cargo in under 7 minutes and help get the planes turned around and sent back out. And this turns into one of the most beautiful humanitarian team effort moments in human history. There's American and British pilots, aircrew members, mechanics, all just showing up in West Germany without even being called to help with this effort and to fly and repair these planes to keep them going around the clock. And then
Man, it takes a major disaster to just have a good community, a good bond, to make people act like people again.
Remember we watched the Count Dankula, that one guy that snuck into the Eastern Europe with a car to deliver food? He did that for how many years? Remember we were crying at that video? He was...
Oh, wait.
Basically, it's a Count Dankula video about this guy who... I don't know what happened in the Baltics in the mid-90s, but they were basically... People were starving over there, and the government... There was like a lot of shit that went on. So this guy just got a Camaro, bulletproofed it up, put cargo on the back, and drove in there to deliver supplies, and he did that for years.
Brave fool, but a hero.
In Berlin, the same thing is happening. There's Luftwaffe airplane mechanics showing up to help repair the American and British cargo planes to keep everything running. The 2 sides that were fighting against each other just a few years ago are now working together to save people. Everybody involved in this operation gets so good at what they're doing that the choke point that's holding up even more progress is that they don't have enough airfields to land the planes on. So the Germans straight up build another one. The only problem with that was there was this big ass apartment building in the way, and when the pilots lowered their landing gear would only clear that apartment roof by like 20 feet, which seems like it would be kind of terrifying. So the Germans are like, hey, do you want us to rip that apartment building down? What do you guys want us to do? And the American and RAF pilots are like, bro, we just got done flying in World War II with you guys and the Japanese shooting at us. The apartment's gonna be fine, trust me. And sure enough, they start not only hitting, but exceeding the quota of 4,500 tons a day. And this infuriates the Soviets. This is the biggest economic and logistical flex of all time. It shouldn't even be possible, and yet America, the UK, and the people of West Berlin are somehow pulling it off. At this point, the Soviets decide they have to try to do something to stop this, so they start sending up all their fighter planes to try to...
Okay, so basically, asshole dumb.
Yeah.
Wow, this sounds pretty similar to half this shit that's going on now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But instead of Russia, it's Iran?
It's nice to know that things just never change.
No one learns from history. Wait, I mean... Okay.
History's doomed to repeat itself.
Wait, is Russia doing anything like this now, or?
To Ukraine?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Like, are they preventing any aid?
I don't know on that.
Mess with all the American and British cargo pilots by flying too close. They're basically trying to mess up air traffic, cause accidents, do anything they can to slow down this logistical miracle. However, it doesn't really work. Why? Because the American and British pilots know that it's basically a bluff, because it's essentially a giant game of fuck around and find out, because if the Soviets actually do anything, it's going to kick off World War III, and at this point in time, America is the only country on the planet that has nuclear bombs and a president that's not afraid to use them. Okay?
Oh, so this is how come it's a Cold War.
Yeah.
Because, it's basically both of them calling each other. Damn.
Iran, China has. Huh.
Sheesh.
You're not picking up what I'm putting down. I'm trying to tell you that the American and RAF pilots are flying with the confidence of knowing that if one of these Soviets shoots them down, President Truman is going to bitch slap their entire country with the sun. Needless to say,
Truman was the goat of our president, wasn't he?
He was actually a very modest guy. He's actually based out in Independence over here.
Huh.
You didn't know that?
No, I did not.
Yeah, he's from Independence, Missouri over here. The Truman Library's up there.
Oh.
That's why half the streets all around here are named Truman something.
Huh. I did not know that.
they were unfazed by the Soviet harassment. How unfazed were they? Thank you so much for asking. Cue our next main character, Gail Halvorson, aka the Candy Bomber. He was one of the many pilots that was flying supplies into Berlin, and somewhere along the way he decided that he was going to start dropping candy bars with little handkerchief parachutes out of the window of his plane over West Berlin so that the kids could get some candy. And eventually this caught on, and all the kids were waiting where the planes would fly over, hoping that they would get a candy bar. Then the
that's precious! The candy bomber's the best kind of bomber! Oh, that's precious!
American government caught on, and they're like, oh shit, this is a great propaganda opportunity. Imagine what it would be like if every single plane was dropping candy out of it. So that's exactly what they do. They start dropping a bunch of candy out of every plane, and then they make propaganda out of it. But then it gets bigger because all the American candy companies start sponsoring it and donating more candy to drop. And then it gets bigger because all the kids in America and the UK start raising money at school to buy candy to give to the kids of Germany.
And this is why we're fat now.
This is why. Are they fat now?
I don't know. This is how Willy Wonka started off.
And they're giving out even more candy. And the Soviets have to stand there and watch as the Americans and the British are not only flying in a literal Costco worth of shit into West Berlin every single day, but they're dropping candy out of their planes like it's a fucking parade the entire time. And this is all going on while East Germany and East Berlin is eating potatoes and standing in bread lines, and it makes the Soviets look like the biggest assholes on the planet. Because not only are the people of East Germany watching the Western world essentially move heaven and earth to help out West Berlin, they're also watching the Soviets be more interested in disrupting America
for a good cause,
helping people than they are in helping the people of East Germany. In short, America and the UK are playing to win, and the Soviets are playing to not lose. And it is
okay. So basically, both sides are trying to win the love of Germany or whatever.
Yeah.
The
propaganda. It's propaganda, but our propaganda was a lot better than their propaganda because at least our people aren't starving.
We gave out chocolate.
They gave out potatoes and bread at the other side.
To be fair, we're rotting out their teeth and making them fat.
Is leading to a lower quality.
Would you be fat or starve to death?
I would be happy with a potato.
Quality of life for all of East Germany. As it turns out, Sun Tzu was yet again correct when he said the sun may rise in the east, but it sets in the west, and that's because west side is the best side.
But that's not what it means.
Really?
Not even close.
That might have been Ice Cube, actually. Anyways, so now in retaliation for all this, America and the UK and pretty much the entire Western world are going to put a bunch of embargoes on the Soviet Union and punish them financially and economically. Now, the Soviets absolutely cannot afford this, but they keep telling themselves, it's okay, winter is coming, and as soon as winter gets here, they're not going to be able to land all these planes, and this whole thing's going to fall apart. We just have to wait out long enough for winter to slow down America and the UK. So that's what they do. They just try to shoulder the financial burden and wait for winter to come and put a stop to this entire thing. Winter comes, and winter, it does slow down some of the flights, but here's the catch. America was also developing bigger, better cargo planes, and now America isn't just flying the C-47, America's flying their new cargo plane, the C-74 Globemaster, and as opposed to the previous C-47 carrying only 3 tons, the Globemaster can carry 25.
Hey, so while they were doing this, they were still engineering and junk, making things bigger and better. Let them stop just because they want. Why not the boof? The boof?
The bluff.
There's no L, it's boof.
Boof?
The boof. Why not the boof? I don't know, why not boof?
So despite the
like
fact
boof.
that weather can sometimes delay flights, America and the UK continue to improve and increase the amount of supplies that they are delivering daily. And by Easter Sunday, 1949, they would break their own record, landing 1,383 planes in a single day, delivering 13,000 tons of supplies, which is 26 million pounds, which obviously is like 11.8 million kilograms, or roughly 87 blue whales. Yeah, the United States Air Force and the RAF shipped 87 blue whales worth of crap into West Berlin in a single day. And because of this, it becomes very apparent to the Soviet Union that America can and will keep this shit up forever if they have to, and they are finally forced to give up the blockade.
Blockade ends, airlift wins. Yay! Nice.
Yeah, they realized, yeah, we ain't winning. And now we led to East Germany. Wales.
The Wales!
Because they cannot shoulder the financial burden anymore, and that would come down on May 12th, 1949. And with the roads and railways to West Berlin finally open once again, the Berlin airlift would come to an end after 15 months, 277,000 flights, spanning 92,000 miles, and delivering 2.3 million tons of aid, which is roughly 4.6 billion pounds, or 15,333.33333
What's with the whales?
blue whales. This is the...
Hold on. The Cold War is over. We won! Adult Swim! Do you remember that?
Vaguely.
The boof is the B-58 52, I'm dumb, bomber. It's called the boof! Because it stands for Big Ugly Fat Flight. Fat fight? Big Ugly Fat Fight?
Yeah.
Good God, that's a lot of whales. I like the boof!
I like the joke Nux came up with.
Boof!
Thanks to Hassan Piker, the blue whale has the second largest vagina on Earth. That's Nux's joke.
Boof. Boof, boof,
greatest
boof.
logistical and humanitarian feat ever accomplished, and the Western world did it with communism doing everything it could to slow it down. So in conclusion,
it sucks.
Fuck communism.
Yeah.
The best way to support the channel is go buy some merch at thefatelectrician.com.
Go buy his merch, I guess.
Quack bang.
Yeah.
Out.
Awesome.
Yo, Fat Electrician, I've heard this guy from Kirsha.
Oh.
But yeah,
Cute,
that was
cute.
interesting. Thanks
USA, USA, USA.
Thank you.
Thank you, Loco, for the recommendation. Meow meow. Thank you all for joining me. Please like, subscribe, and comment. It would make me very happy. Kiss, kiss, hug, hug.